A mysterious note found beneath a carpet, an ancient key leading to forgotten places, and a glowing medallion whispering clues to untold secrets. Caroline stumbles into a hidden world, where each step uncovers something stranger than the last. What lies behind the ancient door she opens? How far will the clues take her? This story is filled with twists and a puzzle waiting to be solved. Stay tuned for every turn and let your imagination run wild. Let us know where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe to keep the mystery alive. Caroline was a hard-working student. She didn't have much money, but she always worked hard to make her dreams come true. When she wasn't studying or attending school, she worked as a cleaner. Her newest job was cleaning a big fancy house. The owners were rich and had sparkling chandeliers, shiny floors, and colorful rugs in every room. One sunny morning, Caroline was dusting the living room. As she moved a small table to clean beneath it, she noticed a corner of the carpet sticking up. Curious, she knelt down to smooth it out. That's when she saw something odd. A tiny piece of paper was poking out from under the carpet. Her heart started to race. She carefully lifted the edge of the carpet and pulled out the paper. It was an old yellowed note that looked like it had been there for years. The handwriting was neat but faint, as if written a long time ago. It read, "The key to what you seek lies beneath the old oak tree." Caroline stared at the note, confused and excited. What did it mean? Was it some kind of riddle? And what was she supposed to find under an oak tree? She knew the garden outside had several oak trees, their thick branches stretching high above the ground. Her hands trembled as she folded the note and tucked it into her pocket. She couldn't stop thinking about it for the rest of the day. After finishing her cleaning tasks, she stood by the large window in the living room, staring out at the backyard. The oak trees swayed gently in the wind, their leaves shimmering in the sunlight. Caroline didn't know what the note was talking about, but she had to find out. It was as if the words on the paper were pulling her toward the trees. Somewhere under their strong roots, a secret was waiting for her. Caroline couldn't shake the thought of the note as she finished her tasks in the grand house. That night, as the clock in the hallway struck midnight, she made her way to the backyard. The garden looked magical under the moonlight, with shadows of trees dancing on the grass. She gripped a flashlight tightly, her heart racing with both fear and excitement. The note had mentioned the old oak tree, but there were at least 3 oak trees in the garden. Caroline decided to start with the largest one, its trunk so wide that it would take 2 people to wrap their arms around it. She knelt on the damp grass and ran her fingers along the base of the tree, searching for clues. Nothing. She moved to the second oak tree, smaller but equally ancient looking. As she scanned the ground, her flashlight caught a peculiar spot where the earth seemed disturbed. It was as if the soil had been dug up and hastily covered again. Caroline's hands trembled as she grabbed a small garden trowel she had borrowed from the tool shed. With each scoop of soil she removed, her anticipation grew. The moonlight seemed brighter, as though the night itself was watching her. Suddenly the trowel hit something hard. She paused, her breath caught in her throat. Clearing the dirt around it, she uncovered a small, rusted metal box. Caroline carefully lifted the box out of the ground, brushing off the remaining soil. The lid was slightly stuck, but after some effort, it popped open with a creak. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a shiny old key. She unfolded the paper with care. Written in the same neat handwriting as the first note were the words, "This key will open the door to your true journey. Look to where the sun sets." Caroline stared at the message, her mind spinning. The backyard faced west, where the sun disappeared every evening. What door was the note referring to? She glanced at the key, which looked as if it belonged to something ancient. Caroline placed the key and the second note in her pocket, her mind swirling with curiosity and questions. The door to your true journey, the note had said. But where could that door be? She thought of the house she cleaned. It was filled with expensive furniture and paintings, but it also had an older section, a wing that seemed unused, with heavy wooden doors and faded curtains. Carolyn had always wondered why no one ever went there. The next morning, as she returned to the house for work, the mystery tugged at her heart. After finishing her usual chores, she found herself standing near the entrance of the older wing. One of the doors caught her attention. It had an intricate design carved into the wood and a keyhole that looked just the right size for the old key she had found. She pulled the key out of her pocket, her fingers trembling slightly. Could this be the door the note had mentioned? Was this where her true journey would begin? Caroline hesitated for a moment, then stepped closer to the door. She inserted the key into the lock and turned it slowly. The sound of the mechanism clicking open echoed in the hallway. The door creaked as it swung open, revealing a room that had been untouched for years. Dust floated in the air, and old furniture was covered with white sheets. But what caught Caroline's eye was a large wooden chest in the center of the room. Its edges were decorated with golden patterns, and it looked like it hadn't been opened in decades. Caroline approached the chest, her heart pounding louder with each step. She reached for the latch, her hands shaking with anticipation. Whatever was inside could be the answer to the mystery, or perhaps just another clue to uncover. She lifted the lid slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. Caroline peered into the chest, her eyes widening as the contents came into view. It wasn't what she had expected. There were no glittering jewels or stacks of gold coins. Instead, there were old papers, maps, and what looked like a leather-bound journal with a faded clasp. The air around the chest smelled faintly of aged parchment and ink. She carefully picked up the journal, its cover worn from time. As she opened it, she saw pages filled with sketches, diagrams, and notes written in the same neat handwriting as the notes she had found. Some pages showed detailed drawings of locations, forests, hills, and what appeared to be an old estate. Others had cryptic phrases, riddles, and symbols that she couldn't yet understand. Caroline's hands trembled slightly as she turned the pages, her excitement growing. Toward the back of the journal, she found a folded sheet of paper tucked between the pages. Unfolding it, she saw that it was a map. The map was old, its edges frayed, but still readable. A red X marked a spot near what looked like the outline of a house surrounded by trees. Beneath the X were the words, "Where the roots meet the water." Her mind raced. Was this pointing to yet another location? And if so, what would she find there? Caroline placed the journal and map back in the chest for safekeeping, but the questions burned in her mind. The journey she had stumbled upon seemed far from over, and each discovery seemed to lead to an even greater mystery. Caroline knew she couldn't linger too long in the dusty room, so she carefully returned the map and journal to the chest, making sure everything was as she had found it. As she stepped out and locked the door behind her, her mind was filled with possibilities. What did "where the roots meet the water" mean? Could the map be leading her to something hidden outdoors? The garden of the grand estate came to mind again. Perhaps the clue pointed to a specific spot near the oak trees, or even farther beyond the property. She decided to study the map more closely the next time she had a free moment, but for now she needed to stay focused on her duties. She couldn't let anyone grow suspicious of her activities. That evening, after finishing her work for the day, Caroline found herself drawn to the map in her thoughts. It was clear that the red X marked an important location, but the surrounding landmarks on the map were faint and unfamiliar. She decided she needed more information. The following morning, she woke early and headed to the local library before her cleaning shift began. The librarian was an elderly man who seemed to know every book and resource in the building. Caroline explained that she was curious about old maps of the town and surrounding areas. The librarian guided her to a section filled with ancient atlases and geographical records. Flipping through the dusty pages, Caroline began to match some of the features on the map she'd found in the chest. To her amazement, the markings on her map aligned with a small forest on the outskirts of town, far beyond the estate. The forest bordered a slow-moving stream where the roots of giant trees dipped into the water. Caroline felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she planned her visit to the forest. The clues had led her to something unknown, and she was determined to unravel the mystery. She borrowed an old bicycle from a neighbor, knowing it would take her beyond the town and closer to the stream marked on the map. The day of her journey arrived, and Caroline packed lightly, a small bag containing the map, a flashlight, and a notebook to jot down anything important. She pedaled along the dirt path leading out of town, the map tucked safely in her bag. The road grew narrower as the forest loomed closer, tall trees casting shadows on the ground. When she finally arrived, she was struck by the quiet beauty of the place. The stream trickled gently, its clear water reflecting the sunlight. Roots from the towering trees curved into the water, forming intricate patterns along the edges. Caroline unfolded the map and carefully compared it to her surroundings. The red X seemed to mark a spot near a cluster of trees with especially thick roots. Caroline stepped closer, her shoes sinking slightly into the soft earth. She began examining the area, her eyes scanning the ground for anything unusual. The spot felt peaceful but mysterious, as if it held secrets waiting to be uncovered. After a few minutes, her gaze fell on something peculiar, a patch of earth that looked slightly disturbed, as though someone had dug there long ago. Her heart racing, Caroline knelt down and began brushing away the loose soil with her hands. What could be buried here? Slowly, she uncovered a small wooden box, its surface worn and its edges wrapped with rusty hinges. She hesitated for a moment before opening the box, her fingers trembling as she lifted the lid. Inside, she found another note folded neatly. Beneath the note, there was a small, round object wrapped in a cloth. Caroline unfolded the cloth, revealing a medallion made of metal, its surface engraved with unfamiliar symbols. The medallion shimmered faintly in the sunlight, as though it held a special kind of energy. She carefully unfolded the note, the handwriting once again matching the previous clues. The words read, "The medallion is your guide. It will show the way if you trust its light." Caroline stared at the message, her mind spinning with possibilities. What did the medallion's light mean? Was it meant to lead her to something even greater? She held the medallion tightly, feeling its smooth surface and wondering what mysteries it held. Caroline held the medallion in her hand, turning it over gently to examine the symbols etched into its surface. They were unlike anything she had ever seen before. Intricate patterns that seemed almost alive in the way they caught the light. As the sun began to dip lower in the sky, a soft glow emitted from the medallion, faint but undeniable. The phrase from the note echoed in her mind. It will show the way if you trust its light. Caroline's heart quickened. Was the medallion responding to something? She stood up, her gaze shifting from the medallion to the surrounding trees. The faint glow seemed to brighten slightly as she turned toward the west, where the sun was setting. It was as if the medallion was urging her forward. With cautious steps, Caroline followed the direction of the light, weaving her way through the thick trees. The forest seemed quieter than usual, the only sound being the crunch of leaves beneath her feet. The medallion's glow grew steadier as she walked, guiding her deeper into the woods. After several minutes, she noticed something unusual ahead. There, hidden among the dense foliage, was a stone structure partially covered by moss and vines. It looked ancient, its stones weathered by time, and yet it stood firm as if guarding a secret. Caroline's breath caught in her throat. This had to be the next destination. Approaching the structure, she saw a small arched doorway built into the stones. Its wooden door was old and warped, with metal hinges that had begun to rust. In the center of the door was a circular indentation, one that matched the size and shape of the medallion in her hand. Caroline hesitated for a moment, her heart pounding. She knew this was a turning point. Whatever lay beyond this door could change everything she had known. Steeling herself, she placed the medallion into the indentation. It fit perfectly, and as soon as it clicked into place, the door groaned and began to shift open. A dim, golden light spilled out from within, bathing the surrounding forest in a warm glow. Caroline stepped forward, her curiosity stronger than her fear. She peered inside, the golden light reflecting in her wide eyes. Carolyn took a deep breath and stepped through the doorway into the golden lit chamber. The room inside was circular, its walls adorned with carvings depicting scenes of nature, trees, rivers, mountains, and animals. At the center of the room stood a pedestal, and upon it rested another medallion, identical to the one Carolyn had found, except for the symbols etched into its surface. As she approached the pedestal, the symbols on her own medallion began to glow faintly. It was as if the two medallions were connected, guiding her toward the next phase of the journey. Caroline reached out and placed her medallion next to the one on the pedestal. The moment they touched, the carvings on the walls seemed to come alive, shifting and glowing as if telling a story. The scenes depicted a journey through landscapes, uncovering hidden treasures and ancient knowledge. It was a quest that seemed larger than anything Caroline could have imagined. A faint hum filled the chamber, and the two medallions merged together, forming a single, brilliant artifact. A new note appeared on the pedestal, written in the same handwriting as before. It read, "The merged medallion holds the key to the truth. Follow where its light leads, and you will uncover the greatest secret of all." Caroline held the medallion tightly, feeling its energy and warmth. She knew this was not the end of her journey. It was only the beginning of something far greater than she had ever dreamed. The golden light dimmed slightly, and the chamber grew quiet again. Caroline stepped back out into the forest, her heart filled with determination and a sense of purpose. With the medallion as her guide, she walked toward the horizon, ready to face whatever awaited her. The mystery of the medallion and its secrets was far from over, and Caroline was determined to see it through to the end.